Two stories this week. A pharma giant gets hit with ransomware, an education platform pays a ransom, and a physics professor in Utah does some math on a data center. They look unrelated, but I want to argue they're the same story. And if you're running data protection in 2026, what they tell you in unison is something most of our industry hasn't admitted out loud. Now, the recovery surface has moved, and it's not where your runbook says it is. And the gap between where your team thinks the recovery surface lives and where it actually lives, that gap is the most expensive thing on your balance sheet right now. I'm Demetrius, and welcome to another episode of Data Protection Gumbo. Now, story one, West Pharmaceutical Services, a Pennsylvania pharma giant. They make injectable drug packaging, the vials, the stoppers, the syringes, for basically everyone. Now, they filed an 8K with the SEC on Monday, confirming a ransomware attack on May 4th. Now, here's the public version. They detected the intrusion, proactively shut down and isolated affected on-prem infrastructure. They restricted enterprise access, activated crisis management, brought in Palo Alto Unit 42, notified law enforcement. And as of the filing, core enterprise systems were restored, and shipping and manufacturing had restarted at some sites. Now, the headlines are calling this textbook incident response. But I want to push back a little bit on this, not because that's wrong, but because it misses the more interesting thing. No ransomware group has claimed credit yet. Now, 6 days in, no leak site listing, no public extortion clock, no data sample. The most common interpretation when a major victim goes quiet and the threat actor goes even quieter is that maybe a payment is or was negotiated before the public extortion phase ever started. Now, I'm not accusing West of anything. I'm telling you what the silence pattern usually means. And here's why it matters. Now, if your incident response plan ends at restore from clean backup, file the 8K, hire Unit 42, you are planning for the 2019 version of ransomware. Now, the modern version involves negotiation as a recovery decision, and almost nobody has that on their runbook. Now, story two, same week, different outcome. Instructure, the company behind Canvas, confirmed Monday that they paid shiny hunters an undisclosed ransom and received shred logs as proof the 3.65 terabytes covering 275 million records had been deleted. Now, the CEO, Steve Daly, published an apology that included a sentence I want every practitioner to sit with. He said the company got the balance wrong. The balance. Yeah. Now, most analysts will say Instructure had a security failure, point to the support ticket vulnerability, litigate the architecture, but I want to argue something different. Instructure didn't lose a security battle. They lost a narrative battle. Now, in 2026, that is the same thing. Now, look at the sequence. Breach, April 29th, contained declared resolve, measured statement, standard playbook. Then shiny hunters come back May 7th. That's finals week. Defaces 330 university login pages, and Instructure's first move is to replace the ransom note with a fake scheduled maintenance banner. Now, that moment, the fake maintenance page is when they lost. Not the breach, not the data exfil. The moment a college sophomore screenshot a ransom note Instructure was trying to hide and posted it to Reddit at 1:20 p.m. Pacific time. That was the recovery failure, and no amount of clean backup data was going to fix it. So your recovery posture is no longer measured in RTO and RPO alone. It's measured in how long the gap is between the truth and what you say in public. So stretch that gap more than a few hours during a live incident, and the attackers are now driving your communication strategy, which is exactly what happened. So this week, the other shoe. Utah State physics professor Robert Davies ran the math on Kevin O'Leary's proposed Stratos data center in Box Elder County, Utah. 40,000 acres, 9 gigawatts of electricity, more than twice Utah's entire current statewide consumption. 7 to 8 gigawatts of waste heat poured into a single high desert valley every day. Now, Davies' translation, the equivalent of about 23 atomic bombs of energy per day. Daytime temperatures rise 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Nighttime, 28. Now, here's the read. Your cloud DR plan assumes your secondary region will be there next year. That assumption was reasonable in 2018. It is not reasonable in 2026. Now, hyperscale AI build-outs are concentrating massive single points of failure into geographies that physically cannot sustain the thermal load. Now, Utah locals are about to prove it again. They're pushing for a referendum to overturn the Stratos approval. Now, if your DR region is in Northern Virginia, Phoenix, Box Elder, or Loudoun County, your recovery SLA is now downstream of a thermal event that you can predict, a community vote you can influence, and a power grid running hotter than design. So geography is the new recovery debt. Nobody is pricing it into their DR strategy. So 2 stories, 1 thesis. For West Pharma, recovery is now a negotiation problem. For Canvas, recovery is now a narrative problem. And for Stratos, recovery is now a geography problem. So none of these 2 live on the backup admin's dashboard. None of them live in the 3-2-1 framework. None of them are solved by immutable snapshots alone. The recovery surface has moved, and the programs that win in 2026 are the ones whose runbooks have moved with it. Now, that's the briefing. 2 stories, 1 thesis. The recovery surface has moved. Has yours? Now, if this was useful, forward it to one practitioner who needs it, and that is how the gumbo grows, 1 stove at a time. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to stop by Data Protection Gumbo and subscribe on YouTube to stay informed when a new episode drops.